A talented blacksmith stood at the edge of losing everything, not because he lacked skill, but because of a silent enemy that destroys more dreams than failure ever could. What he learned from a mysterious stranger changed not just his life, but revealed truth that could transform yours too. This is the story of Ethan and the secret that saved him. In a quiet village surrounded by rolling hills, there lived a young blacksmith named Ethan. Everyone knew his name, not because of what he'd accomplished, but because of what he could accomplish. Ethan possessed a rare gift. When he worked, his hands moved with precision that older craftsmen envied. The few pieces he'd completed were masterworks, each sword perfectly balanced, each tool flawlessly forged. But there was one devastating problem. Ethan rarely worked. His workshop told the story his words wouldn't. Unfinished plows gathering dust, half-forged swords abandoned mid-creation, orders from months ago still waiting for a single hammer strike. Every morning began the same way. Today, he'd tell himself, today I'll start. But today never came. Instead, there was always something more comfortable to do, a reason to wait, a justification for tomorrow. The villagers' patience wore thin. They needed tools for harvest, weapons for protection, repairs for survival. But Ethan's talent meant nothing when it stayed locked inside him. One afternoon, his closest friend Daniel confronted him. "Ethan, what are you doing? You have a gift most people would die for, and you're wasting it. Dreams mean nothing without action, nothing." The words stung because they were true, but truth doesn't always create change. Ethan knew Daniel was right. Deep down, he knew, but knowing and doing are separated by a chasm that has swallowed countless talented people. Then came the day the village chief arrived. His words were sharper, cutting deeper. "Your laziness doesn't just affect you, Ethan. It affects all of us. We depend on you. If you can't fulfill your responsibility, perhaps someone else should occupy this workshop." That night, Ethan sat alone in his workshop, surrounded by the evidence of his failure. For the first time, he truly saw himself, a man with everything needed to succeed, doing nothing with it. The question haunted him, why? Why was it so hard to just start? The next morning, a stranger arrived. Samuel, a blacksmith whose reputation had traveled across kingdoms. His hands bore the scars of decades at the forge. His eyes held something Ethan had never seen in his own reflection: purpose. Samuel examined Ethan's unfinished work and said, "Talent without discipline is like unforged iron, full of potential but useless." Ethan became defensive. "I want to work, I really do. I just can't seem to find the motivation." Samuel picked up a piece of raw iron. "That's your first mistake, waiting for motivation." He began working the forge. "You see this iron? It doesn't want to become a sword. The fire doesn't feel good. The hammer hurts. But we don't ask the iron how it feels. We forge it anyway." Discipline isn't about feeling ready. It's about showing up when you don't feel ready. It's about working when you don't want to work. That's the secret everyone's looking for, and it disappoints them because it's not magical. Samuel looked directly at Ethan. "Greatness is built the same way this iron becomes steel, one strike at a time, every single day, even when, especially when, you don't feel like it." Ethan asked uncertainly, "But what if I fail? What if I start and can't keep going?" "Then you start small, so small that failure is impossible." Samuel handed Ethan a hammer. "Tomorrow morning, you work for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, no matter how you feel. Can you do that?" Ethan nodded slowly. The next morning arrived. Every part of Ethan wanted to stay in bed. The old excuses whispered in his mind. But he remembered Samuel's words, 5 minutes. He lit the forge, picked up his hammer, chose the smallest, easiest task he'd been avoiding. Those first 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. His muscles protested, his mind screamed for comfort. Everything in him said stop, but he didn't, and something unexpected happened. After 5 minutes, he didn't stop. He kept going, not because he suddenly felt motivated, but because momentum had taken over. The next day, he did it again. 5 minutes became 10, 10 became 30. Some days were harder than others. Some mornings the weight of resistance felt crushing. But Ethan had learned the secret. You don't wait for the feeling to come. You act, and the feeling follows. Weeks passed. The first plow was completed. Not perfect, but done. Then a sword, polished, sharp, beautiful. The villagers began to notice. Orders were filled. Tools were delivered. But something more important was happening. Ethan was changing. Each finished piece wasn't just a tool or weapon, it was evidence, proof that he was becoming someone new. The lazy dreamer was dying, the disciplined craftsman was being born. Months passed. His workshop, once a graveyard of abandoned dreams, overflowed with finished work. His reputation spread beyond the village. But the greatest transformation wasn't in his workshop. It was in his eyes. Samuel returned one evening as the sun set behind the hills. He found Ethan exactly where he'd left him, at the forge, but everything else had changed. "You discovered it," Samuel smiled with approval. Ethan looked up, grateful. "I did. It was never about waiting for the right feeling. It was about doing the work regardless of how I felt." Samuel nodded. Most people spend their whole lives waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. They die waiting. But you learned what few ever do. Discipline is the hammer. You are the iron. And every day you show up, you forge yourself into something stronger. Ethan examined a finished sword. "It's strange. The work is hard. Some days it still hurts, but I've never felt more alive, more proud of who I'm becoming." That's because you're no longer running from discomfort. You're running toward who you're meant to be. Ethan's story spread through the village and beyond, not as a tale of talent discovered, but as a testament to a harder truth. Greatness isn't inherited. It's not a gift that falls from the sky. It's forged, one difficult day at a time, in the moments when every part of you screams to quit and you continue anyway. So ask yourself tonight, what workshop of unfinished dreams are you sitting in? What gift are you waiting to feel ready to use? Because the secret is simple, even if it's not easy. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to start. 5 minutes, tomorrow morning. The iron doesn't ask how it feels. Neither should you. If this story resonated with you, you're not alone. Thousands of talented people are trapped in the same cycle Ethan escaped. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And in the comments, tell me what's the one thing you're going to start working on for just 5 minutes tomorrow. Remember, discipline is the difference between who you are and who you could become. Now, go forge your masterpiece.